Welcome to Catch Outdoors. I'm your host, Captain Rob Modies. This podcast is about living and playing in the Florida Keys. I cover my favorite sport, fishing, but also all the many things to see and do down here in the islands. Thank you so much for tuning in, and now it's time to kick back and relax with me in the Keys. This week's episode of Catch Outdoors is number 198. Catch Outdoors brought to you by Spotify and lots of other streaming podcast sites. Also brought to you by me. This week's title, Island News. Howdy, recording this on a Wednesday evening. So you'll be listening to it in less than 12 hours, which is pretty cool. Another fairly quiet weekend here in Islamorada. And I'm guessing in the rest of the Keys too. We've had a pretty nasty batch of weather, so it's really kept people out and off the roads. So I have a feeling that those people that may have planned a few days down here from the Miami-Fort Lauderdale may have just bowed out. And I can't say that I blame them because it's been pretty awful. It's off-season also. I mean, until we hit the end of the month, the Hemingway Days celebrations are happening the last week, as well as the Florida Lobster mini season. A pre-start to the actual season that opens on August 6th. By the way, the mini season is 30th and 31st of July. And then there's a gap of about, almost a week. August 6th, the commercial guys get to start pulling traps, and so do people, for that matter. And I will be perusing one of my favorite places come the 7th. Nothing better. I mean, you can freeze lobster, and there are places out here that serve it right now. I've seen it on restaurant menus because it does freeze extremely well. It's not a meat that absorbs water, and so they'll wrap that sucker up and put it away. But then when the season comes, you can see the fresh ones out in the bin on ice, and you go, okay, I'd like to have one of those, please. And I'm looking forward to that. I love Florida lobster. I do like it better than Maine lobster. There's all this big controversy about the two. They do have distinct flavors. I just think that the Florida Caribbean lobsters are sweeter. They just taste sweeter. They don't have claws, so that's a drawback if you want to get meat out of a claw. They don't have them. But all in all, they taste really good. So if you haven't tried one, do it. Janelle has scheduled us a day down in Key West for the Hemingway Day thing that I mentioned. A day, not days, in our case. I've never been, so I figured it's about time. She figured it was about time. I don't think she's been to it either. So we both wanted to see the what's called the Running of the Bulls, which is, from the videos I've seen and what, it's hilarious. I mean, basically these guys have bulls made, like, just picture a bull made on like a wheelbarrow, and they chase the Hemingway lookalikes down the road, down Duval. That I got to see. That occurs on Saturday the 26th. And then the selection of the Hemingway lookalike person, the contest itself, ends that evening at Sloppy Joe's for the best lookalike. And we'll be there for that too. So we're going down Saturday, do that, and spend the night, and then come back on Sunday morning. So I'm looking forward to that. I always like our trip down to Key West. Even if it's a day, it's really fun just to be a visitor. So let's see what else is going on. I guess I should say I've long been a Hemingway fan. I shouldn't mention that. I do my best to at least visit a couple of his books each year. I've been so entrenched in these mystery novels that I haven't, I'll be honest with you, I have read one. I read one back around Christmas time, if I remember right. Lobster mini season. I mentioned that's just around the corner. Again, it's July 30th and 31st. Better make arrangements if you're planning to stay in the Keys. It's a very busy time down here. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. It's far enough out now that nobody's looking at it, so I can't tell you what to expect. Just be real glad it wasn't this week. But anyway, you really better make arrangements. Remember, you need a fishing license with a lobster stamp. There are also bag limits and size limits. I think it's 3 inches on the carapace and 6 per person in the Florida Keys. And a huge fine if you take them illegally. Pretty much, I got to tell you, it's crazy. It's crazy on the water for 2 days. So please be careful. Watch out for dive flags and all that kind of stuff. Take your time. You're not allowed to dive for lobsters in the Florida Keys at night, just so you know. You can also be stopped and fined heavily for that. We allow only daytime, sun up to sundown. Regular commercial season, as I mentioned before, starts on August 6th, runs through March 31st. Nice big long open season. If you haven't noticed, the weather has pretty much turned to crap here over the last week. There's this low pressure system up at the top of the state, and it's pulling all kinds of moisture into it. Potential for a tropical storm, and nobody knows really what's going to happen until it gets across the state. The last thing I looked at, they had a 40% probability of development. It may be up higher than that now. I didn't look this afternoon. I looked this morning. They still had it at 40%. A lot of Florida's west coast and part of the middle state now is on flood watches. But we've had a ton of rain. We've had a lot of rain here in the Keys, although it's only been an inch or two. Well, I think it's probably been over 2 at this point. But in other places, they've had 4 and 5 inches of rain. We have a high out there, which is powering water up. And then we have the low, which is capturing it and then delivering it on top of the state. That low is moving across the panhandle, essentially, into the Gulf. Not quite panhandle, I guess just below it, into the Gulf. And the chances of development all hinge on whether it's going to actually run across part of the panhandle or if it's going to stay out in the Gulf. Everybody in front of it's on the lookout. Louisiana, especially Texas. Texas, man, have they had it or what? And now this thing looks like it may come. Even if it's not a tropical storm, it may be another rain event for them. Feel bad for those folks. Rain and thunderstorms here most days with some sun popping out. Certainly not boat days. Better safe than sorry. We actually had a couple of rescues near Islamorada this past week. Had a capsized boat, and I forget what the other one was. Somebody that shouldn't be there. Honestly, some people just don't bother to look at the weather report. Since it's been really crappy outside, I've been doing some reading, but also playing video games. Dun, 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 dun. Some of you probably know this, that I am old enough to have sold the original Atari equipment, the original Atari little computer, the 400 and the 800 computers, and then Commodores. Way before anything else. You had to put a cartridge into it to play a game like Pac-Man or Centipede or something like that. And it always intrigued me, I have to be honest with you. And as the games got better and better and better, I went with them. And now the graphics are like watching a daggone movie. It's really incredible. And I like adventure games. I like playing shooters. I like teammate type stuff. And ironically, the new Destiny just came out. What should be called Destiny 3. It's a whole remake of a franchise that's been around for 10 years. So I started playing it, and I saw this news story pop up on national news the other day about all us old farts that are still playing games, people over 60, 65. I'm over 70. So it was fun watching that because they had a couple of doctors come on and say, this is really good for older people. It promotes hand-eye coordination, balancing the muscles of the hand, muscles of the arms and shoulders. It helps with reasoning because a lot of this is puzzle solving. So when the weather is crappy, this is what I like to do. I besides writing and reading, I do like to play the video games. Something else that's really cool is online gaming is made up of teams. And one of the groups that I play with on a regular basis has players from Florida, Colorado, Canada, Georgia, state of Georgia, UK, and Australia. And sometimes we even get players from France and Germany, and that's pretty crazy challenging with language barriers. We have people that will actually translate as we play. But I think what I find fascinating about it, it reminds me of being a boat captain. One of the positive things about a boat captain is besides it's a hard job, but it's a great job, is you get to meet new people almost every day on the boat, and you find out where they live and what they do. And it includes overseas and people here in the States, Canada, as far away as Japan and China. I fished a couple from China one time. And so you learn about their culture and you learn about their favorite places and what they like to do in their home countries and their home states. So it's kind of like visiting. and you suddenly realize that one of the best restaurants in Chicago is blah blah, because you've heard about it several times. And the same thing with gaming. When you game like that and you have other people on from all these different places, the first thing we generally ask is, "How's your weather? What y'all been up to? Hot, cold? You guys looking for snow?" They love the fact that I live down here on an island. That intrigues the bejeebers out of them. Do you really like being on an island? Isn't it kind of weird having only one road? Do you ever get, freaked out that you can't go to Walmart? I'm like, no, I don't. But it's a lot of fun. And it was a godsend when I came down with cancer. I spent 2 years playing video games because I couldn't do anything else. So it was a saving grace, to be honest with you. You can't read all the time. Well, some people can. I can't. Let's see. The moon is new on the 25th with really good moving water. Hopefully, I didn't get much to do on the 10th because it was just been so crappy the past few days. All the way to, well, even today. Today we had thunder in the middle of the night. It was cloudy and overcast all day. Day before it was storming all day, coming right off the Atlantic on top of us. It's been dreary. I feel sorry for the people that have shown up to stay here for the week. They're probably wondering when in the hell the sun's coming out. Tides are low in the morning at around 8 to about 9 a.m. each day for the next 4 or 5 days. And the highs are happening in mid-afternoon, like 2 o'clock or so. And then there's another low close to sunset. There's been a lot of questions and talk about the sargassum weed along the shorelines. For those of you that don't know, sargassum is a weed that floats. It generally comes in from South America, off the coast of Cuba. It just basically works its way up to Florida on southerly to southeasterly winds, and then gets pushed up against our islands, and it is matted, and it's pretty nasty. I'm not going to kid you, but it does go away. And it has been nowhere near what it was in previous years. So what I have witnessed on the water is there'll be a mat of maybe, 25 by 25 yards. And then a lot of broken out there. And that's, don't get me wrong, it's great for fishing. The fish love to hang underneath that stuff. But when it gets up on our shorelines, beaches, resort, areas, and sits in the sunshine, it stinks. And tell you what, the resorts go out with pickup trucks and pick it up. I believe they're dumping it for fertilizer is what's happening now. I think it's going to a place on, I heard it was in Key Largo. I'll have to go back and check that, but they're piling it up there and it'll wind up being fertilizer. Cool. In the back country, if you go in about 6 or 7 miles up, you don't see anywhere near as much of it as you do in 3 to 4 miles of the bay. And then a little further than that, it goes away completely. You don't see it at all past 7 or 8 miles. You do, however, get a lot of floating grass back there. I encountered that. I mentioned that on my last podcast. I had to really re-rig my soft plastics so that weedless, so that they wouldn't pick up all the grass. There's a lot of turtle and manatee grass floating because of all the storms we've had. Those big rains come through and the winds blow hard during the storm. You get a 30, 40, 50 mile an hour gust in those storms, and it tears the grass up and it winds up floating on the surface with the tide. Hopefully that'll stop, because I'm hoping to get out there late this week, possibly Friday or Saturday. Everybody keep your fingers crossed for me. That'd be great. If you do artificials or flies, you're going to have to go weedless. It's not a total weed out on the surface. Don't get me wrong, but it's pretty patchy in places. However, like I said, the fish, they love under the sargassum. They also love being under the grass patches in the backcountry as well. So I don't think it's a bad thing. No fishing this past week. I think you kind of already gathered that without me telling you. There was no way in the world I was going. I mean, the sun would come out and you go, ooh, I think I'm going to, boom, you hear lightning and thunder. It was like, no, I don't want to even go there. So we did a pool day on Sunday. We managed to get a full morning. Well, when I say full morning, we got 3 to 4 hours before the weather went to hell. Not bad. I finished another Jesse book and started on number 16. So, yay. I love those books. They're easy reads. And again, I've mentioned it's all about Florida islands, so I enjoy that. On Saturday, Jonelle and I attended the grand opening of a brand new butterfly garden up in Key Largo. I got to tell you about this. This is really cool. JD's Outdoor Adventures, owned by Jesus Estrada, has been very busy up that way. Just about a year ago, he opened a new bait and tackle store at mile marker 99 in Key Largo on the Bayside. And I actually talked about that in a previous podcast. I was just blown away at the time, the amount of product that he had in there. And I think I even mentioned that it's useful product. He's a guide, and he hires guides to work the counters in the store. So they pretty much know what we're looking for, and they pretty much know what works. So you don't have all the superfluous junk in there that, to make it pretty. It's what works. And I enjoy that when I go in a tackle shop, especially here in this area. Well, next door, he put together a native plant shop, and then he built a butterfly garden. And it's extraordinary. So basically on the same property. So when you park in the area, you can go into the tackle shop, come out and walk over to the plants. And these are native plants, which I love seeing that when somebody is carrying native plants. Those are the ones that need very little care here in Florida. You put them in a pot, you feed them about once a month, you just leave them alone. They don't mind. They tolerate water, and they tolerate drought, and they tolerate the heat. And of course, there's no cold to really worry about here in the islands. But he's did that, and then his butterfly garden is paths, and it's got some really beautiful handcrafted cages with birds in it, exotic birds, parrots and things like that, parakeets, cockatoos. I saw all kinds of stuff, and I really, really enjoyed it. I was pleased to see it. Not a lot of butterflies, but this time in the summer, it takes a while. When we start to go to fall, the butterflies really come in, and I'm going to have to go back and check it out at that point. But really neat. Now, something else he did, he's also created a beach. Let's see, how am I going to explain this? Let me go back first. I really want to give a plug here for the guy that was working the counter in the tackle store. While we were waiting for the official ribbon cutting, that's why we were there, by the way. It was the grand opening of the garden, of the butterfly garden. And they had a ribbon cutting, and Jonelle, said, "Come on, let's go." She has to go. And I said, "Okay, I'll go. I want to check this out." While waiting for the ribbon cutting adventure, I went inside, and there was a guy working the counter, Captain Raphael, and he runs Twilight Delight Fishing Charters. I love the name. But what a great talk we had. It was nice to meet someone with such a great attitude, shares a love of fishing as crazy as mine. Be sure to look him up if you're coming down to Key Largo. He also fishes the Flamingo area as well. That's always good to know. His website is twilightdelightcharters.com. So, good guy, really friendly, very, very helpful. Was giving me a lot of soft plastic tips, things that he likes to use in the back that I have not used. And I'm like, cool. So I got a few things to try. I also got to give a plug to the food truck that was out front, and I have no idea what the name was. I will try to find out by next. I made a couple calls and a couple inquiries, and nobody seemed to know what it was. I remember it's Spanish, so it was impossible for me to read, like pop it into my memory. But man, that guy can cook. And we had some samplings of appetizers and things while we were waiting on while we were actually doing the ribbon cutting. So back to JD Outdoor Adventures. What he did down in Key Largo, right next to the Caribbean Club, is he opened another tackle shop and a thing he calls the Marina and Beach. He literally brought in sand and made a beach right next to the Caribbean Club, down past the parking lot where people park their boats. It's fantastic. It's a small tackle shop, again, with everything you need. The beach, you can drive your boat right up to the beach, power pole down and sit off the beach. I don't think you launch boats there. I think you do launch kayaks and paddle boards. He had an unbelievable amount of live bait. He had crabs, pinned fish, whitebait, shrimp, in these great big tanks out back. I was like, because he's able to pump water right out of Blackwater Sound, salt water. So it's easy to keep stuff alive when you've got water access instead of somebody bringing water in for you. That was really cool. But the beach idea is really neat. You can rent a spot, complete with a picnic table and a grill, and a couple of lounge chairs, or beach chairs rather. And why didn't he do it sooner? I told Janelle, I said, we were in Key Largo. I said, if that sucker had done that while we were there, we'd be over there all the time. Because I think it was $10 to lease a space. And then I can't remember if it was 15 or 20 to get the table and the grill. But it's a great idea. And it's right on a beach, and you're right next to the Caribbean Club. So if you want to go over and party when you're done, you can go do that as well. But really cool. By the way, that's at mile marker 104. I made sure to write that down. That was literally across the street from where we lived when we were in Key Largo. Island news. I just heard this a couple of days ago, and then I heard it again today. The Spanish Fly, you guys remember that? Jose Wahebi's TV show, which was like 84 million viewers. that's got to be the most viewers of any fishing show ever. Unfortunately, Jose crashed in an airplane back in 2012 and he died. And he had, I don't know, he was just one of those people that just knew how to talk fishing and knew how to find fish. And he did almost all of his presentations right out of Key West. And I would not miss a show ever. And it was so sad when he passed away. Well, guess what? Chrissy Wahebe, his daughter, along with Outdoor America, have teamed up to revive the series that's going to be released in, I think she said, second quarter of 2026. They're doing a kind of I'll call it a video montage of old stuff from Jose mixed with her fresh new. I understand she's a terrific angler. Of course, geez, I can't imagine why. She grew up fishing with her daddy. But when I heard that, I just thought that is just so cool. So you can find more information about this. So put it on your calendar or on your click on it so that you get responses and stuff or mail from the web. It's at SpanishFlyTV.com. That's SpanishFlyTV.com. I use a thing called the Fishing Wire. If you guys, anybody can subscribe to this. I did it back when I started writing articles, fishing articles. It giving me extra information and topics and things that I didn't know were going on that I wanted to write about. But the Fishing Wire has been on, gosh, it's got to be 8, 9, 10 years now. If you really want to get some great information and you're really into fishing and you want some fishing news daily, that's a good one to go with. You'll get all kinds of info. And I noticed that they had a lot of info on there about that TV show. So some very good news for the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. Their main offices are located in Key Largo. And there was a big stink about the lease being pulled on that building, which they've been in for years. And then all of a sudden they announced, nope. Good news, they signed a lease till 2031. So those of you down here in the Keys that have heard that they may have to move out or find other places, or which of course would cost more, I'm sure, they were able to reestablish a lease with the building that they were in. So when you're coming into Key Largo, there's a white concrete building with a blue border around the top of it. That is the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary offices. Thank goodness. I approve. Hey, I recently ordered a cast net. What? I can't throw what I call a big cast net. There's no way in hell I can throw a 10-footer. An 8-foot is marginal. But again, through some of the news services that I'm on, I heard about a company out of Sarasota called Juju Cast Nets. That's Juju Cast Nets. And I got intrigued because it advertised lightweight for old people. It didn't say that, but that's pretty much how it works. The older you get, there's no way in hell you're picking up a 10 or a 12 footer. Just trust me on that. And I have a bad back, so I know I'm not. But they were advertising that they have 8-footers in different mesh. In my case, a quarter is what I wanted because of the, I don't want a Christmas tree, little bitty baits. They weigh 33 to 38% less than equivalent competitors' nets. And what they've done is, it's not the lead. The lead is about the same. It's a little lighter, but they've made a much, much better panel. And I think that's why it's probably going to work. And again, I only throw a net in 3 to 4 feet of water. I'm not throwing it offshore in deep, deep water. I'm just looking for white bait along the edge of an island or on a flat. So I think that's going to be really, really cool. I got it already. I took a look at it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's very well manufactured. But if you're looking for a cast net, give it a try. Based out of Sarasota, they're sold through livebait.com out of Hollywood, Florida. That's how I found out about it. But these are specially made lightweight cast nets, and I think they have 8, 10, and 12s, and then they have all different meshes. So you can get everything from a large mullet right down to a small quarter-inch bait. So I'll let you know how it goes. I'm going to get out there and do some tossing and give you my results real soon, I hope. What else have I got on the docket here? Oh, ICAST is happening right now in Orlando. What's ICAST? ICAST is the largest fishing retailer show in the world. You can't go to it. I think I've mentioned that before on previous podcasts. It's only for fishing outdoor retailers and media. Anybody that's in fishing media, giving the news about all the fun things that come out. I will forward stuff as I get it. Let's just put it that way. I get all kinds of emails. I would have liked to have gone, but man, I tell you what, walking that concrete floor for 2 days is murder. And I can get almost all that stuff off the web, to be honest with you. And people post videos and all kinds of stuff. And what I'll do is I'll sift through it and see what latest and greatest cool things I see, and I'll be happy to relate them here on the podcast. Last but not least, I received my order for discount hurricane supplies from Amazon. They had a special deal going on for about 3 days. And you could get on there and get flashlights and batteries and lanterns and headlamps and radios and all kinds of stuff related to hurricanes at a steep discount. Almost everything on there. Like, for example, 30% off, 35, 40% off for some things. So I got a nice lantern, got some I love getting those headlamps. Those are great in bad weather or when the power's out. Also, they're great on the boat, too. The ones I bought have a red light on them, too, so you can use them at night and not be blinded by white light. And then I got a cool weather radio that has a hand crank for charging on the side. You just basically crank it up instead of having to plug it in to charge it. It's always good to have a weather radio and AM, FM radio around when things go to hell in a handbasket. And it doubles as a charger for cell phones, too. So, okay, it's time for useless information.
And now, from the original book of useless information.
You are a reject! You are useless! You can get a job down here cleaning toilets!
Here's your host, Captain Rob Modies.
Well, he swears up and down he's useless, but
he might be all right eventually, but completely useless.
With useless information.
Okay, here we go. There are more than 150 breeds of horses in the world. Thoroughbred horses are so thin-skinned their veins are visible beneath the skin, especially on their legs. Though small, the Shetland pony is strong. It was once used to haul heavy cars in coal mines. Did not know that. The normal body temperature of a Clydesdale horse, that's the Budweiser horse, 101 degrees. Wow. And last but not least, rhinos are in the same family as horses and are thought to have inspired the myth of the unicorn. A rhinoceros's horn, by the way, is made of compacted hair. And there you go until next week. Here's some final thoughts. And this is going to be off the cuff. Rather than write one down, I thought I'm just going to... Hey, listen, if it's raining, go outside. If it's sunny, go outside. Go outside. Whenever you get a chance, just do it. One of the nicest things about living in the Keys is that we live outdoors. That's pretty much what we do. And that's why we get grumpy when it rains 2 or 3 days in a row. We hate getting canned up inside. We can't go out. We can't grill. We don't want to sit out on the patio. We don't get to watch the sun go down. We don't get to sit and listen to our favorite tunes. I mean, you can watch the people around here. They got these faces like, can this please stop? And it's okay if it gets back to 90 degrees. We really don't care. All of us are used to hot. We're also used to mosquitoes and all the fun things that go with summertime. But my advice to you all is, no matter where you live, no matter what the weather is, do the absolute best you can to get outside and enjoy it. It beats the heck out of sitting inside. It really does. Y'all take care, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed listening, please subscribe to the podcast channel, and don't forget to tell a friend. Facebook page is Catch Ya Outdoors. The website's catchoutdoors.com, where you can find all the previous podcasts, purchase my books, and find news about my music. Until next time, get outdoors and enjoy.